Hi, I'm Saumya. I'm from RentToRead, which is an online book rental platform for children's books. Over time, I've realized that building reading habits isn't just about access to books, but it's also about understanding how a child feels and connects with stories. And that's why I've started this series called The Reading Lens, where we have conversations with experts who have spent years working with children and books. And with each episode, we learn and grow a little more. For today's episode, I'm really excited to have Ms. Radhika Suri with us. Ms. Suri has been an educator for over 3 decades, a children's book author, and a nature enthusiast who has championed literacy and environmental causes across India. Her books from the Yummylicious series, Would You Like to Eat Gol Gol Gappas, Would You Like to Eat Crunchy Munchy Jalebi, and Would You Like to Eat Soft Fluffy Idli, are full of flavor and imagination and are bound to take you on a culinary adventure. While her latest book, The Whispers of the Mangroves, is an absolute gem and a perfect way to introduce your kids to the fascinating world of the mangroves. Welcome, Radhika ma'am. It's such a delight to have you with us today.
Thank you, Saumya. Thank you so much. I'm excited too.
So I mean, starting from the beginning, how did you decide to become a children's book author, and what was that one moment or one idea that you thought, you could turn this into a book?
Okay. So I think becoming an author, of course, has come in much later in my life after nearly 3 decades. But I think when I was with children, I realized the power of stories and storytelling. I was an early childhood educator, so if I didn't have a story, they weren't listening to me. If I wasn't interesting, they were like, "Oh my God, she's so boring." So I think looking at the world and with a very from a child's lens, where they have this crazy make believe, ability to make believe, to create, to think of any nonsense and have fun with it. So I think I would give credit to my children who kind of taught me to see the world in a very magical way, in a very funny way, or the way you want to look at it. So I think that's where my journey with storytelling really began. And over the years, of course, I mean, everybody knows what books can, bring to you. So I think over the years, I had different career, I wore different hats, and finally, when I decided to change path from active working, I think the natural thing was I wanted to tell stories from my life about things I love, and that's where it kind of started.
You're also a Golgappa lover yourself.
Oh my God, yes. That's why I tell you, sometimes the fun of things I learned from my little children. And the first, it began in the COVID time where everything was so serious. And all I could think, I was going to have my grandson, and all I could think was something funny to, bring to his life when he's born. So I thought of Golgappa. And that's why I wrote the book specifically only for him. It was
How
only for
sweet.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so I interact with a lot of parents for my work on Rent to Read, but I still see them gravitating towards international books as compared to Indian ones. Roald Dahl, Diary of Wimpy Kids, Geronimo Stilton's. These are fantastic books, but I keep wondering, why do you think that preference still exists?
Okay.
That preference for
Yeah.
international books over Indian?
Yeah, so I think it's tried and tested, their trends, they're established. And if I look at a parent today, I mean, they have so much on their plate. And while they are the most earnest at this stage and the most aware, but not necessarily have the time to think so much about it. So I think you gravitate towards, tried and tested things, what people seem to be
Mm,
enjoying. But here I would really, urge parents and in myself also, I've kind of learned on my journey that take a
yeah,
step back. Every book is not for every child. We're all
absolutely.
so different with such different interests, and especially in the early years as they're growing up. Some children are very physically inclined, some are, very curious. So every child is different. And therefore, when you try and give the usual thing and the usual amount of text to every child, you say, oh, my child is not reading. But if
Yeah.
you find a child who's so curious or, who
Mm,
jumps a lot, and you find a book that is all about jumping, the entry into a book the chances are so much higher. So not taking away these very successful books, but also mixing the bag with books that would like all of us. If you watch us, wants a thriller, somebody wants to read some psychology or self-help
Just
books. So
comics.
yeah,
Yeah.
just comics. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're also different, right? And why do we treat children in one way? So I think it's very important to observe what your child's interests are.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and I also I think in my earlier my life with children, I realized that we think they're small and little, so they're not thinking and they're not proper beings as yet, but they are. They're very,
Hmm.
very, and they're communicating. So can we also listen to them and look at that and blindly take books that are, just trends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you also feel that there is a gap in terms of access and discoverability? Because when we try to search for books for say 7 years old, 8 years old, the first few results, the topmost results, are of international books. So
Yes. Yes.
somehow there, I felt
Yeah.
there's a gap here.
Absolutely, there is a gap because it is an industry and
Hmm.
it does push and it works on trends,
Yeah.
trends really help in sales going up. So, not taking away that, yeah, everybody's here for for earning and for these kind of things. So, definitely, they'll always put the top one. You go to a bookseller, he'll say, these are very successful. So, it just, you keep going round in a cycle. So,
Yeah.
in my journey itself, I've realized, sometimes a book may look very good on the cover, but inside it's not, even if it's a picture book. It
Hmm.
doesn't have what I'm looking for, or it just loses the plot, or the choice of words are not there. So I think I've also slowed down on accumulation of books that, first do we read it and this. So I think we're also in a very rushed society. So we go, we
Hmm.
buy, we walk out. But
Yeah.
it is great to get good recommendations and honest recommendations, not paid recommendations. So, I
That's
think
right.
we need more earnest and sincere people, and people like you sharing, bringing what you have learned, bringing up your children and looking for good material for them. So I think we need to communicate that also.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, libraries, bookstores, book reviewers, communities, all of us do play an important role. We can make conscious choices where we, ask for Indian author books. So just doing our bit, I feel.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. And Soumya, I wanted to also point out that having contextual material is really important in a child's learning. Learning about farms and things that don't are not in our and not in our society is
hmm,
also, I mean, it's great, but I think so when learning happens when children are growing up, it's great to start from what they're familiar with. So I think
hmm.
what Indian authors bring is, very contextual material, and therefore it's an important part of.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that familiarity and familiarity of context and characters, where we're talking about daddies and nannies and
Yes,
the names
yes,
are familiar. So I think that really helps a child immerse in
yes,
stories.
yes, yes.
Yeah, amazing. Um, but despite all these issues of access and discoverability that we were discussing, do you think Indian children's literature landscape has evolved and whether the Indian authors are finally getting the space that they deserve?
Uh,
You have.
yeah, no, I definitely feel the landscape has really evolved. I mean, if I go back to my when I was teaching, I had just National Book Trust books, which had an Indian flavor to it, and then came Pratham. So
Hmm.
from there to now, I think so it has changed a lot.
Hmm.
Um, so there is a lot of material, but I think quality, the kind of authors, all that also kind of matters,
Yeah.
and the kind of story content. So
Hmm.
also publishers don't want to at times take a risk with something new. So we keep going around the same formulas, tried and
Hmm.
tested, because we get feedback from salespeople saying this book will work with the parents, this won't.
Oh,
So
okay.
again, it's an industry, right? So I mean, you can't blame them, but
Yeah.
we need more publishers to, champion different kind of writing
Mm.
that will really, books that will really help our community, our children. So I think that is really needed over just tried and tested formulas.
So, is there a theme or story that you still feel is unexplored in India?
Yeah, I think culturally, there's a lot still missing. I mean, now you have a lot of books on worldly and, historical, people who did a lot of, unsaid stories. We have a lot of that, but a lot of things rooted in our culture, our
Mm.
nature, our biodiversity. So
Mm.
there is still a lot that needs to be done. I mean, Golgappa and these are, simple things, but I think a lot more needs to be done and said about it. It's such a rich country. I mean, I think we are missing a lot here, and a lot needs to be explored and done. Like we grew up with the Jakata tales, Panchatantra. There were a lot of morals we learned, a lot of ethics we learned through those stories. But now
Yeah.
it's all moving towards, stories like this. So again, there needs to be more
Mm.
thought given to this.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. So coming to reading habits, so recent survey has actually shown that daily leisure reading is at its lowest since 2005, with only 20.5% children between the age group of 8 to 18 reading daily, and with only 34% enjoying reading in their free time. Since you've been an educator for over 3 decades, what do you think could be a reason for this decline? And do you think phones or screens have a role to play in this changing reading culture? Or do you
Yeah,
have a different opinion?
no, I definitely feel it's, I mean, when we were growing up as children, we didn't have anything other than our playtime, our
Yes,
few toys, and books. So I
yes.
think we were very focused and very undistracted, and it's a very distracted world.
Hmm.
And it's also a world with a lot of pressure. So I won't just say children are distracted because of screens. They also have hobby classes. They have a lot of different things, they're being put into. So it's generally society has changed. And
Yeah.
all of us, even adults, I mean, why children, we are not as focused as, calm as we were, like what a book can bring to you. It's like silence and calm time with
Hmm.
yourself. So I think that's something we need to acknowledge that it has changed, and
Hmm.
blindly trying to bring it back won't really help in the sense, just forcing children is not going to help. That is your
Yeah.
reading time. I think bringing the right books to children, reading along with them, having questions, and not worrying about did my child read one book a week. They can read
Hmm.
one book a year, but actually read it, enjoyed it. So I think also not chasing the number game, trend game would be useful. I personally didn't read as a child, and I had a brother who read a lot. So it was a very
Hmm.
big thing that I wasn't reading. And I
Hmm.
found my fun in comics, and I devoured comics. So it's fine. I don't see, I may have definitely I lost out on some things because I think the knowledge and that he had, I didn't have. So I definitely saw what he had and I didn't have. But still, I found my own place and I read what I wanted to read. So I think so that also is good that it's better than not reading.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was one. And with my daughter, I obviously wanted her to be a reader because I wasn't a voracious reader. And I really tried with her, and now she tells me, "Why did you bring such boring books like Moby Dick to me? And what were you thinking when you were bringing these kind of books to me?" And there was another one, Goblin Hat, and but I think I really persevered. I really
Hmm.
persevered, and she read quite late, and
Hmm.
then she didn't stop. So,
Hmm.
and I always see the breadth of knowledge she has definitely tells me what books does to a person's mind. So definitely, the different things you need to do, I would say.
Hmm. I think that's a very, very balanced view on this. And you've also given some great tips for parents to build that reading habit. Um, I think stories are also really powerful. So at times, if it's not just reading books, but if you're just reading aloud to children,
Yeah.
that also helps in connecting them to the story. And so they fall in love with stories before they actually fall in love with reading
Yeah.
books.
Yeah. Yeah.
You,
Absolutely.
yeah. You yourself are a storyteller and you have an amazing YouTube channel, and I've heard you. So, what is that one hook or theme you think if somebody is reading aloud or doing storytelling? What is that one thing that works, has always worked, rather?
Yeah. So I think, I was pretty into this whole world of, uh, in the early years and my early teaching years was that you animate a lot, right? You
Hmm.
animate a lot, you raise your voice a little bit and you use a lot of, voice modulation and that makes it interesting. But with my mangrove book, I learned, and when I was going for my first read aloud, I realized this book was so calm. This book
Hmm.
was so going into a forest of discovery, and it really hit me that day that why do we keep jumping in front of children? I think every book needs a different treatment. Like if I
Okay.
jumped with my mangrove book, oh my God, what a disaster! I can say
Yeah.
I'm gone, but I think what I was trying to convey through the book is calmness. And I think,
Hmm.
and therefore, whatever the story, the flavor you want, I think we should. What I'm trying to say is let's take away the entertainment. We're constantly trying to entertain children by making
Hmm.
noises, funny faces. Well, treat them like you would treat anybody and tell the story well, and if you immerse in it, I'm sure you'll narrate it also beautifully. So I would
Yeah.
believe a different narration for each one. It should be different and thought through.
Very nice. I think that's also an amazing and very different point of view because a very, very different perspective.
Yeah.
So, think to this, what are some simple, practical ways to build a reading habit in children? Is there one tip that you would want to give?
Yeah, I think I would say consistency because that kind of worked with me, for myself, for my children. Just ensuring that there is a nice book there, and we're all reading it together. Every child is different, so I think whatever pace the child takes, and avoiding peer group, pressure. That has your
Pressure.
child read this book?
Yeah.
Because I think give children the space to go at their own. How does it matter if the child read 2 pages? But did the
Hmm.
child enjoy every word? So I think accepting that and bringing books that really your child enjoys and letting it go in the space it goes to. I think we are
Hmm.
in a society that's constantly focused on achievement and numbers and things like that. So I would really, yeah, urge parents to breathe and really enjoy a book. Yeah.
I love it. I love your tips. Do you have a favorite among your own books? Do you have a favorite?
Um, I cannot deny that I am gravitating towards my mangrove book. And I keep
It is
thinking why.
fantastic.
Hmm?
It is a brilliantly written
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, I think it's deep. I think
Hmm.
I love nature and I feel very humbled when I, look at a tree or anything in nature.
Hmm.
So I think that book is really close to my heart because it just every time I go and read it, I discover something more and I feel more and more, connected to nature and understand the mystery and magic that exists there. So I think currently that is my favorite. Maybe the next one may
Okay.
be my favorite. I don't know, but yeah, currently that is.
Okay, great. So, before we wrap up, where can our listeners find your books and follow your work?
Yeah, so I have a website. It's called taleswithradhika.com. So you can find my latest books. And if I have read alouds or podcasts, you can find it there. And of course, my books are available on Amazon and at many bookstores. So yeah.
Great. This has been such a lovely and insightful conversation. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us
Thank you for
today.
having me and all the best for this lovely initiative.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hope you all enjoyed listening to Radhika, ma'am. Don't forget to keep checking this space for more such episodes on the Reading Lens, a space where we talk about books, building habits, and raising joyful readers. Till then, keep reading and stay healthy.